It only took a pandemic to get me to start a YouTube channel, but at least we're doing it. Hello and welcome to Chronically Musical. My name is Alice and I am a professional classical violist, or at least 9 months ago I was a professional classical violist. Right now I'm kind of an out-of-work classical violist. I'm also someone who has 2 chronic illnesses. Now, chances are, if you're watching this, we probably already know each other, but if the YouTube algorithm has brought you to my brand new channel, welcome. It is such a pleasure to have you here. It would mean so much to me if you took a second to just click that subscribe button below, like this video, share it if you feel so inclined, and if you want to go the extra mile, you could leave a comment below so I can personally introduce myself and thank you. Now that that is out of the way, I'm gonna be vulnerable and honest here for a second. I strive to be that way in my everyday life. I believe in transparency and open. Oh, can you see my eye twitching right here? Oh my God. This has been twitching all day. Don't let the twitching distract you. This is probably my 7th time trying to record this, my very first YouTube video. I spent days preparing for it, writing out a script and trying to figure out lighting and buying a camera that I have no business owning because I have no idea how to use it. But I had this idea that my first YouTube video had to be perfect and it had to be a certain way, it had to look a certain way, I had to look a certain way. Part of that is just in my nature. I am a perfectionist, it's just the way I am, but another part of that comes from my life as a classical musician. In the classical music world, we are constantly striving for perfection, even though it's entirely subjective and completely unattainable. To be perfectly honest, I think perfection in classical music is really quite boring. I think there's a lot of fun in the surprise and unknown, and personally, as an audience member, I get really disinterested when I see something that's executed so perfectly that I'm not surprised by it. As I alluded to a few minutes ago, I have 2 different chronic illnesses, something called undifferentiated connective tissue disease and another disease called ulcerative colitis, which is a form of inflammatory bowel disease. A few months ago, I entered into my worst IBD flare-up thus far. Back in, I want to say, September, things got really bad. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I was going to the bathroom 20 times a day. I wasn't sleeping because I had to get up every hour. I was drenched in sweat all night because inflammation causes night sweats, apparently. And I was really not doing well. I was bleeding. It was a mess, struggling with urgency and frequency to the point where I couldn't leave the house because if I wasn't near a bathroom, I was gonna ruin yet another pair of pants. So I had to turn to a sometimes life-saving drug that a lot of autoimmune patients have to rely on, especially during flare-ups, called prednisone, which is a steroid. Prednisone is amazing in a lot of ways. It has helped get me out of the worst part of my flare. I'm still, unfortunately, relying on it, but I've been able to taper my dose down quite a bit. But along with those positive aspects of prednisone, there are a lot of really negative side effects that one can experience. Some of those really fun side effects include weight gain, prednisone-induced acne, facial hair growth, insomnia, moodiness and depression, irritability, trouble retaining information or focusing, rapid heart rate. A really fun bonus for me are these hand tremors where my hands just shake all the time, which as a violist is really unfortunate. And now this eye twitching, which is a new one. When I was watching the earlier takes I had done of this video, all I could see was the roundness in my face called moon face, which is another side effect of prednisone. I could see the shadow of the mustache that I'm now grown. I have breakouts that hopefully I've covered up well enough that you can't see them, but believe me, they are there. And I know that all of these things may seem really silly to focus on, and I'm sure no one would even notice them. It's really just coming from my place of insecurity and self-consciousness. But sometimes when you don't feel like yourself and then you don't look like yourself, it can be really hard to be confident. I just kept re-recording and re-watching and hating everything about what I was creating, and I decided the best way to get over that was to acknowledge it right off the bat. That's what I'm doing here. I'm re-recording everything and making my very first YouTube video on Chronically Musical as open and honest as I can possibly make it. Okay, so now that the nitty-gritty is out of the way, let me break down exactly what this channel is going to be. So as I mentioned, I am a classical musician and I am also a person living with chronic illness. Neither of these topics are, I feel, openly discussed as much as they should be. Classical music has shaped me into the person that I am, and I can't imagine my life without it. That being said, it's also been incredibly stressful, traumatic, and oftentimes damaging, and that can be really hard for a lot of us to come to terms with. And so I'd like to bring light to that area of my life and show how my chronic illness relates to that, and how living with a chronic illness has actually been impacted by my life as a professional musician. So here are a couple things that you should know about me before we really get to know each other. So first of all, music is the only thing that I have ever known how to do, ever wanted to do, or ever done. It has been a part of me since I was 8 years old, and I asked my dad to play the violin, and I genuinely can't not imagine my life not doing it. Another thing that you should know about me is that I am 26 years old, I live in Los Angeles, and I have 2 roommates, my mom and my 92-year-old grandma, which has been a very interesting experience during this time of COVID because we have literally all been stuck in a house together. That's a whole other story that we'll get into. We'll get into that another time because it's a lot. Another thing that you should know is that I was diagnosed with both of my autoimmune conditions a year and a half ago when I was 24. I was 24. Ooh, that took way too long to calculate. Kids, this is why you shouldn't go to school to be a musician. I haven't taken a math class since I was 17 years old. Also, I should mention, I have 2 degrees in music. I kind of know what I'm talking about. One of them's from Juilliard. Okay, those were really heavy. I haven't even hung them yet. The fact that they're in frames, to be perfectly honest, is an accomplishment because for the last 4 years, my undergraduate degree has been in a folder that I thought I lost, and for the last 2 years, my master's degree was in a box. So, you know, right after my diagnosis, I decided to completely change my lifestyle, like completely change my lifestyle. I started exercising regularly, which, if you know me, is crazy because I'm the least athletic person possibly ever. I reduced certain foods in my diet to focus on anti-inflammatory foods. I started practicing a lot more self-care, journaling, yoga, meditation. On top of all of that, I started publicly sharing my journey on Instagram. Now, through that process, instead of being shunned or told to stop, I actually found that people embraced what I was doing, and I was able to connect with, frankly, thousands of people who I never would have connected with had I not started sharing my journey. I'm hoping that this new channel might be an opportunity to take that one step further and reach an even broader audience of people who might be struggling with certain autoimmune conditions or certain musical things, and maybe I can help. I don't know. So the last thing that you should just know about me right up front is, for most of my life, I have always had a plan. I didn't always know which direction my path was going to lead me, but I was always on a road of some kind, and for the first time in my life, I'm actually finding myself with no idea what I want to do. Like, zero. I mean, I know that I'm going to do music, and I know that I will continue to educate people about chronic illness, but I don't really know how those 2 things fit together. Hence, this channel. If you asked me what my 5-year plan was, or if I could pick any job in the world to be my dream job and I could just go do it, what would it be? I wouldn't have an answer for you. And for a long time, I kind of thought that maybe that meant something was wrong with me, or maybe I was already doing what I was supposed to do, what my dream job was, which, to be perfectly honest, I kind of was. I mean, I got paid to play music. What better dream could you have? But all that being said, I'm kind of realizing that maybe it's not such a bad thing to not have a plan. Who could have planned for a pandemic? Who could have planned for all of 2020 to basically be a wash? I didn't really have a plan before 2020, so maybe I'm actually coming out ahead? I didn't have a plan to begin with, so nothing got derailed. So welcome again to Chronically Musical, my brand new YouTube channel, where I will be sharing my experiences as a classical musician as well as a chronically ill person, and sharing how those two parts of myself directly impact each other every single day. I'm going to be releasing videos once a week on Wednesdays on a particular topic, either relating to chronic illness or music, or something that combines both of those, as well as vlogs whenever. Because who knows when something interesting is going to happen in my life. When you're not leaving the house, the options are endless. It's not mundane or boring at all. I don't do the same thing day in and day out and pray for a change. I'm gonna be talking about everything from my top 5 colonoscopy tips to my top 5 best places to take a nap in music school tips. So if you want to stay up to date on all of my videos, the best way to do that is to hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment below if you want to connect and say hi. If you're an aspiring musician or a chronically ill person or both like me, or you don't fall into any of those categories and you just like this video, hit that like button, watch it a few hundred times. Anything you can do would really mean a lot to me. God, this eye is just, it will not stop twitching. I can't wait to get to know all of you and to share in my health journey and my musical journey. And I guess I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.